checking whether it's good afternoon or good morning. Just do that. Okay. I hope I'm audible now. And again, I'm checking it's good afternoon now. And really pleasure to be here today. Thank you, Dr. Ananta. I think after a long time, I enjoyed the day with so much information, so much of knowledge. The last note from Ms. Ashwarya was very nice, and I think especially the panel which we went through on the water reservation, I think it's something for us all to go back and reflect. And I personally was sitting there, Dr. Ananta, and I was just thinking about it. We are so busy in our world. We need to step back and start thinking about how do we start contributing much more to the world and the society. So thank you so much for making this forum and being part of it, and thank you to the entire organization for that. So today, we are going to hear a lot about what we have done. Mahi is a great step ahead of bringing in women. The topic for me, and I hope my slides are going to be up as well in a second, but there are a lot of things which we have done to advance women in leadership in the workforce, and probably we'll just talk about that a little bit, and also reflect about while we have taken a lot of baby steps, we have done a lot of things around that, but there's a lot to do as well. Can I have the slides, please? Okay, all right. So I think the way we're going to do is I'm going to talk a little about what women workforce is currently in our country, and basically what it's in the real estate. And we are talking about real estate here. All of us are so closely aligned to it. And I'm not going to go in every detail, but really think about it and just see from an employability standpoint, and these are all stats, these are not my inputs, but what are the researches which have happened. The employability right now is at a 50%, and out of that, women employability is much higher. If you really look at it, it's 53 almost, much more than the men in the country. But if you go back and see women in the workforce, it's slashed down to a 33%. That's something really gives us a reason to go back and start thinking about it when you have a larger population of women employable skill force, but you don't have them in your workforce. So that's a question we need to go back and start thinking about what are the different things we need to do to make that happen. Okay. This is more on the real estate, and these are again stats from different researchers. If you see, we have total 57 million workforce today in real estate, and out of that, it's only 12% we have women. So while we have done a lot of things, but definitely it gives us a thought back that there's a lot more to do. There is a lot more to do. 12% is something none of us would probably be the best, and I remember a few minutes back, somebody spoke about the GDP, right? 27% of the GDP is something which is a big opportunity when we bring in the women workforce into the country as well as in the real estate. Pay parity, that is something I think we are doing a lot of things, but it's a hard reality that there is a difference, and specifically at a senior level, if you really see, it is 15% lesser for women as compared to men. And these are facts, and there is nothing wrong or right, but I think this is something for all of us to just go back, reflect back, and see what we need to do differently in your own world, in your organizations, in different communities where we are. When we talk about women in leadership, it's 2% in the construction. There is a lot of data which we don't have in a very structured way, but this was something which I could pull out. But 2% in leadership is something definitely we have almost 98% opportunity for women to actually succeed and move on. And if we have to move into the 5 trillion economy for the country, which all of us are really targeting, we definitely need to get the women workforce into the organizations. I think while we talk about those facts, I think there is some positive things which has happened, and I think we definitely should give a pat on our back, whether it's the government, whether it's the organizations. We have moved a lot. A lot of corporates and organizations, including all the real estate and organizations, IPCs, where the diversity, inclusion, equity is something which has become a larger and a bigger, I think, agenda. While we are coming ahead and coming closer to the 8th March, when it's the Women's Day, which we celebrate, I see and I hear a lot of initiatives which are happening in different organizations. We are creating a lot stronger ecosystem for women to come ahead, come out from their homes and start working, whether it's talking about creches in organizations, whether talking about a lot of flexi models, etc. So those are some of the positive things. Multinational firms have really opened doors for a lot of women workforce to come in. I think the biggest one is the RERA guidelines, which came in for us in the country, where it's more transparent, more structured, and it gives a lot of benefits and a transparency to really see how many women are in the workforce. Challenges and steps, I'm not going to go because I'm conscious on time, but there have been a lot of things which have happened. There are a few things we need to move ahead, skilling, upskilling, which Dr. Ananta, you were talking about in your panel, structure interventions, building an ecosystem, safety and working conditions. Those are the things we really need to look up and see how we can bring it into the organizations for women to actually start getting more into the workforce. I'm not going to go through the challenges because I think we know about it and we have spoken a lot of times. I would like to bring to your attention a survey which we did in collaboration with Mahi team, and definitely we are looking at moving ahead and making it into a white paper. We are still working on getting some responses, but some really great insights which we got, which I would like to share. And these insights actually correlate to the story which I told you a few minutes back, and that's the reason it was just a preset for actually what the survey is telling us. Now the good part and what's working well for us, I think, is women participation has doubled. That's what all the participants told us, and that's, I think, a big move towards what we are aiming at in the organization. 80% employees feel companies are working towards the gender imbalance. And I think the first step for a change in society is first to be aware of it. And I think we have come a long way that the awareness is there, and now organizations is moving forward to how do we really change that. Now we know the problem, but how do we really change that? 70% of the employees felt that there is a lot of focus on the overall culture to make a culture which is equitable, there is inclusion around it, which again I think is a very, very positive piece. While in the C-suite or the CXO level, the women felt that they were not missing or they have not missed much being in this gender, but 50% of the rest of the population felt that the gender has come on their way when they were moving ahead in their careers, which actually gives a very good thinking back to us that 50% of the women population who actually went for the survey do think that their gender has come in their way, which is something we would not like as a society. These were some of the good things, and I'm going to talk about some of the talking inputs which we have got. And again, this is something which comes from a lot of people's heart, what they see every day. 75% of employees believed there is no focus on developing and fostering female leadership or women leadership in the organizations. We talk about it, and I think a lot of organizations are trying to do a lot of things, but majority of the population felt there are no structured interventions there. And that is something I'm sure a lot of us are coming from different organizations, including mine, where we need to continue to focus on what we need to do differently for them. 55% of employees felt there are no formal mentoring and sponsorship programs. And this is something we have spoken a lot. And it's not about this gender is weak or this gender cannot do, but this gender in the workforce is little underrepresented, and that's why you need mentors and coaches. And if we are not able to provide that, we are not going to move ahead. So that's something for us to focus on as well. There is unconscious bias during hiring, and this is something, and that is what 70% of the population is talking about. That means there is the first step of any person moving into an organization for a job. As a woman, they feel there is unconscious bias, and it is a fact. All of us have unconscious bias, and if I stand on this platform today and I say I don't have it, I'll be wrong. And I'm sharing an incident few days back. I was talking to my son, and he's a big boy now, getting ready for college, and we went to the market to buy clothes for him, formal clothes, and he picked up a pink shirt. And obviously, I don't have a problem, but my first reaction was, do you want to buy a pink shirt? Why don't you buy a blue? This is what is called as unconscious bias, and I'm here and accepting the fact that all of us somewhere have it. And that's something for us, it's very difficult to change. We know what is right, but that unconscious bias overwhelms sometimes. And that's what we're talking here. 70% of the women still feel probably there is unconscious bias and not conscious bias. Because of that, it is difficult for them to enter the workforce. And that's the starting point of women's workforce in the country or in the world we are talking about. And I think India is little behind on that, which we need to continue to focus. The last but not the least, 70% employees feel that there is a need to improve awareness on procedures for reporting incidents of discrimination. I think there are a lot of things we as organizations and country we have done, but when we talk about discrimination, and sometimes it can be unconscious as well, but majority of our population felt and said that in the survey that there is discrimination. So that's a little snippet on what the survey told us, and this survey happened in the last 30 days. And probably we're waiting for more responses to come, and we take this ahead into a white paper and really talk about what we can do. But my last comment on this is, I don't think so anybody does it intentionally. It is the way the culture has been. I think we all need to, in our small spaces, do those two things. Like what we're talking about, carrying a bottle, definitely I'm going to do that hashtag. But also do a hashtag in their minds, what you need to change every day to bring in the unrepresented population into your workforce, into your communities, into your societies, and that will make a difference, because a women power can actually bring in a lot of things, whether it's at home, whether it's in a community, whether it's in an organization. You can move mountains when you have everybody together working for the same goal. Thank you so much. Very pleasure having you here.